We continue our discussion on Serena Williams now, as well as the struggles that modern black women face. Let's play this clip of the interview that she did following that incident. Take a listen.
I can't sit here and say I wouldn't say he's a thief because I thought he took a game from me, but I've seen other men call other umpires several things, and I'm here fighting for women's rights and for women's equality and for all kinds of stuff. And for me to say thief and for him to take a game, it made me feel like it was a sexist remark. I mean, like, how he's never took a game from a man because they said thief. For me, it blows my mind. But I'm going to continue to fight for women and to fight for us to have equal. Like, Courtney should be able to take her shirt off without getting a fine. Like, this is outrageous, you know? And I just feel like the fact that I have to go through this is just an example for the next person that has emotions and that want to express themselves and they want to be a strong woman, and they're going to be allowed to do that because of today. Maybe it didn't work out for me, but it's going to work out for the next person.
Right, I'm still in studio with Atambile Masola, and she is a writer. You know, Atta, like, when you look at this whole incident, it still highlights how jarring it is for women to dare to speak up, even in 2018. This is Serena Williams, but there's many Serena Williams and Caster Semenya in the ordinary workplace as well.
Absolutely. I mean, friends of mine, when we talk about this issue, often say asbonwa. And so you have to do the things that give yourself the humanity in the various spaces that seek to erase you and diminish you. And the fact that black women's voices are still so threatening, it blows my mind, even though we come from a history. So I can count so many sort of public ancestors, in a sense, who've done this work before me. So I don't know why people are so shocked. It's like, this is how we were raised to show up.
Right.
You know, that it doesn't have to be this difficult, but when it is, we're going to have to. And so it's this tension of why do we always have to do this, but at the same time that, well, we're prepared for when this happens. And so our voices are not going to be shut down, because that's when we are erased and pretty much just removed from the narrative and killed, in a sense. You know, the kind of symbolic killing and removing of black women. It's absolutely outrageous.
In the same breath, you also have, like, while some people are orientated to stand up for what they believe in, you have some people who are orientated to say, well, umsebenzi uyahlonishwa, so you have to toe the line. So you find that a lot of people are unable to use their voices because of how they were brought up as well. How do we challenge that and unlearn what you have been taught from a young age?
I think what's helped me, because I struggle with that a lot when I see it in other black women, and I think what's helped me is being in a community of other black women. So one of the things I think our institutions do very well when they are threatened by black strong women, or just, you know, the kind of changing what the institutions look like, is that they keep us separated. So they keep us from talking to each other. And I think the more women talk to each other and show up for each other, and when I see another black woman do that, I go up to them and I'm like, girl, what's happening? You know, you're not doing yourself any favors. And that, in fact, yes, your job may be threatened, but your livelihood is also threatened, your personhood is threatened. And so it's about us supporting each other, and perhaps not being as judgmental towards each other, but realizing that we're all on different journeys in being able to do that for ourselves. But for me, it's been being in community with people that allows me and gives me strength every time I have to do something.
And that's fantastic, but how do we bring men into the conversation? I know it's exhausting, it's tiring, but, like, we cannot do this on our own. And when I say we cannot do this on our own, it doesn't mean it's the absence of the power to do it on your own, but recognizing that as a society, in order to build and to move forward, everybody's got to come to the table.
It's allyship, you know. The more black men, white men, or just the other, you know, in relation to black women, especially with those who are seen as having the power, it's allyship. And I don't know at which point, if it's a cerebral or an intellectual thing, or if it's a heart thing. How do we stop people from misogyny? It's a hateful position towards women. So it's about having the conversation, I guess, at both levels, at the head and the heart, and hoping that the more we push, and push in ways that maybe speak to people's hearts while also speaking to people's minds. But I think there are men who are doing the right things and saying the right things, and the more those allies speak to the people who clearly don't see us, then the work gets better. So we know we can't do it by ourselves all the time, and so the men who understand this need to show up for us more and more and more, and not in a way that erases us again, but in a way that says, just do better. This is a human issue. Do better for yourself as the person who is a misogynist, but also just do better for the other people. And that, I mean, it sounds all kumbaya, but ubuntu, you know, how do we respect umntu beyond the race, beyond the gender, beyond all the other characteristics that we build around people?
Let's talk to women this morning who are feeling defeated, who are just approaching Jenge, where you just like, anything right now will tip me over in the most negative of ways. How do you not lose your mind in this day and age?
Sure, that's a really tough one. I think, I mean, people talk a lot about self-care, but for me, it's just being kind to yourself. Finding the things that feed you. If it's church, if it's women's groups, if it's going home, but find the things that feed you and stick to them, because those are the things that are going to restore your humanity. Sleeping, you know, I think just looking after our health. We don't look after our health as black women. You know, the health rates. The kind of health situation that we have is that you show up and you're stressed, what stress does to the body. So while the responsibility is on the institution, but we have to look after ourselves, speak to other women. And I think having a spiritual or something that grounds you, you know, because this attacks the very depths of who we are. So yeah, for me, it's always being kind to myself and not being afraid to speak to people who understand. So you may not be able to speak at the office or at the institution, but find a way that you have an outlet so it doesn't sit and boil out. Because I think sometimes we think we're alone and we're not. And the most important thing is to know that you are never, ever alone and that there's always someone who can listen to you.
Yeah, find your village.
Find your village. It's a village and it's a community.
Right. Thank you so much for coming through on this Saturday morning. Atambile Masala is a writer. We take a